I was like, there's something wrong. Jordan texted me in the middle of the night and said, "Mother, I love you." And I woke up to that text and texted him back, and Jordan didn't respond to me. And I reached out to Jordan's dad and said, "Is he at your house?" And he found him then.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Bunny Hugs and Mental Health, free safe space for people to share and learn from others' experiences with mental health and addictions. I'm Todd Redebaum, suicide attempt survivor and a recovering substance abuser. I've got another incredible guest this week who has something very powerful to talk about. This week it's with Jennifer Buta. She lives in Michigan, and a couple years ago she lost her 17-year-old son to suicide, and he was provoked and he was egged on to do it by someone online. He was a victim of sextortion. It's when people have nude photographs and people use those photos to manipulate and blackmail, and that's what happened to her son Jordan. Before we get into that, I just want to say thank you so much again for Cornwall Alternative School for having me come out this Wednesday and just hang out with the students and be a kind of a mentor, I guess. It's a beautiful, beautiful group of people. If you're a charitable person and you're always looking for kind of a new charity or something new to maybe donate or support, I'd highly suggest Cornwall Alternative School. It covers everything from mental health to addictions to education to young people. You can go to www.cornwallalternativeschool.com and you can donate there. And if you're in Saskatoon or around Saskatoon on May 11th, I suggest you go check out Saskatoon's Got Talent, and that too is helping teens and mental health. If you would like to donate or support that event, you can go to www.ttyxe.ca and you can buy tickets and make donations there. And if you just want to support the podcast, I suggest you go to the merch store, and that's in the show notes. Or if you'd like to buy me a coffee, that would be so incredibly appreciated. And that link is also in the show notes. Another great way to support the podcast is to share, let people know this podcast is here, and just tell people about it, because people are getting so much great information from my incredible guests like Jennifer. So without further ado, I give you Jennifer Buta.
So my son Jordan was 17 years old. He was a victim of financial sextortion. It happened over a period of less than 6 hours in one evening to early morning. They wanted him to send images. Images were exchanged. They asked for money. Money was sent. When it wasn't enough, they encouraged him to take his own life, and he did.
I didn't realize that they encouraged him to do that.
Yeah, they certainly did.
The fuckers.
There were a couple of things, I haven't been privy to the entire conversation yet because this is an ongoing investigation. But there are two things that I remember being shared from the documents. One was Jordan, my son, said, "I'm going to take my own life." And they said, "We're going to watch you die a miserable death."
How long ago was this?
This happened March 25th of 2022.
Okay. And it's still in the courts?
Still in the courts.
But they did narrow it down to who, like they found out who was responsible?
Yes. They were able to identify and arrest 3 individuals in Nigeria who were behind all of this, communicating the money and such. 2 of the individuals have been extradited here to the United States. The third one is still in custody in Nigeria, as far as I know.
Well, I mean, I hate saying this kind of stuff because it sounds so trivial, but I mean, that part is good, I guess, at least because I know lots of people that, I mean, they're like a ghost in the wind. Like there's no one ever gets caught for the shit.
Right.
So yeah, hopefully your family can get justice that way, at least.
Yeah. You know, them being in custody or going through our legal process, it will never change the fact that I lost my son, that
Right.
he is no longer here. And whatever happens is justice for Jordan. It is for him that someone is held accountable. It does not change my life at all.
Right. Right. So I have a 19-year-old son. So our sons are the same age, and he is in university. He just moved away and he's living in dorms. And one day he called freaking out that someone was doing exactly what you're saying, but they had fake photos of, like, there was, my son didn't send them any photos, but they just found some nude photos of someone and said, I'm going to send this to everybody. If you don't send money or don't, I can't remember what their demands were. And I mean, he was freaking out. The poor kid was just freaking out. Things like that are scary for adults, but like when you're 17 years old, it's like everybody that on my contact list is going to see this and think it's me. And like, that's, yeah, I mean, that's so embarrassing for someone at 17 years old.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and so their brains go to taking their own life because they can't imagine living after something like this happening. But my wife and I we were able to talk him down and be like, this is just bullshit. Like, this is a scam. Even if they send it out to people, like, don't worry. People will realize it's bullshit because, one, you don't have a six pack, but still, I mean, it's like, it doesn't matter. Enough people know that these things are scams anyway. So it took a few days. Like, he was really effective for a few days. And then, of course, the person that was trying to scam him was, they just stopped contacting him. My son just basically said, go screw yourself. But as a 17-year-old kid, lots of them don't. I mean, oh man, it just, I can't even imagine, like, like, we grew up in different generations where this wasn't even a thing to ever worry about.
Right. Exactly. I can't imagine being, whether it's 14, 16, 15, 17 years old, a kid in the middle of the night, and this is what they're doing, and the pressure never stops. And when the child is getting to that point where they don't know where to go, these people are saying, yes, you go ahead and take your life. And if you don't, we're going to make you do it because we're not going to let this pressure up on you.
Right.
And in Jordan's case, like, they were building screenshots. They were building collages of Jordan and saying, we sent this to, or we're going to send this to so-and-so. So he may or may not have believed at some point that those images did go out.
Oh, it's so gross. Like, it's one thing, it's bad enough trying to extort money from someone or blackmailing someone for this. It's another thing to encourage them to take their life or make fun of it, at least. And like, that is so, oh man, like, I just I just want to punch someone, and I'm not a violent person. I can't imagine how you feel as a parent, but otherwise, like, Jordan was a healthy kid. Like, he didn't have mental health issues or anything.
Jordan did not. He was this happy-go-lucky, had a future in front of himself, getting ready to go off to college. He played sports. He loved his job. He was doing well in school, getting ready to graduate. He had his whole future sitting in front of him.
What was his job? I'm just curious.
He worked at McDonald's, and he loved it.
I would love that too.
I spent years trying to convince him to work at McDonald's, and he didn't. And finally one day he said, I'm going to go work at McDonald's. And I was like, all right.
He loved it. Damn. There's a reason why, but the camera is like my neck down. It's because if you saw the rest of it, you'd realize I probably like McDonald's because I have a bit of a belly. But so as a family, how did you, like, did you know, like, obviously you didn't know right away why this happened and then even then, I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place because I'm like, my empathy and I'm just putting myself in that situation, and when I get like that, I find it hard to ask questions. How do you make sense of what happened once someone found who found Jordan first?
Jordan's dad found him.
Okay.
Jordan was at his dad's house after I had contacted his dad because I was like, there's something wrong. Jordan texted me in the middle of the night and said, "Mother, I love you."
Oh.
And I woke up to that text and texted him back, and Jordan didn't respond to me, which Jordan always responded to me, always. And when he didn't respond, I sent another text knowing that he would be up for school. He would be heading out the door. He would text me back, no doubt about it, but he didn't. And then that's when that feeling came over me. And after talking to Jordan's girlfriend and asking if he was at school, she told me no, and I reached out to Jordan's dad and said, "Is he at your house?" And he found him then.
And so that first initial knowing that he was gone and that he was like, I'm assuming you guys realized it was self-inflicted right away. It wasn't like a mystery or anything. Okay, yeah. So then how did you make sense of that right away at the first initially?
I didn't. I spent a good 24 hours saying what happened to my child. I had seen him the day before. I had spoken to him that evening. We had even FaceTimed from the grocery store. What happened from the time I last spoke to him until whenever this event took place? And I didn't have any answers. For about 24, maybe 72 hours as to what had actually occurred that night.
And I'm assuming police or somebody started investigating and they started finding the messages? No?
Actually, they just ruled it a suicide. What happened is one of the people behind the Instagram account reached out to Jordan's girlfriend, and she contacted me to let me know that happened, and I turned that over to law enforcement, and law enforcement then said, "Hey, the FBI just put out, a press release or a notification the day before about sextortion. We think that this is what it is, but there's nothing on your son's phone. We have to get this conversation from Instagram."
Oh, okay. So it's through Instagram Messenger or whatever the hell they call it.
Yeah.
So what did the people that contacted Jordan's girlfriend that were behind it, what did they say to her? Were they just trying to get money out of her, or were they like, "Hey, I think your boyfriend did something"?
They tried to get money out of her.
What the fuck?
Yeah. They,
oh my fucking God.
I think they were like, "You guys want to cooperate with us," or something like that. Do this our way. And, she didn't.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay. I'm trying to, it is so, it just drives me crazy. Holy shit. Like I try not to believe in good and evil, but that's pretty fucking evil. I'm sorry I'm swearing too. I don't normally swear this much too.
No, you're good. But if they had not contacted Jordan's girlfriend, I might still be sitting here today asking what happened.
Right. They kind of shot themselves in the foot in a way.
Yeah. So I'm grateful that they chose to do that, because it gave us an answer as to, what happened to Jordan.
God. So what were they saying and what were they doing? Like, how was the conversation with Jordan? How was it initiated and stuff? I'm just thinking for like young people that might be listening that how to, recognize what's happening.
It was just a direct message that said hey or hi to start out with.
And it was like a pretty girl or something?
It was a pretty girl. And I think it's important to note that it was a hacked Instagram account.
Oh, okay.
It was actually a hacked and purchased Instagram account. So these people purchased this account and used that. It looks like a girl to be about the same age as Jordan was. And they just, hey, what do you like to do? Where do you live? Maybe we even have some of the same friends. And that went on until they asked for an image. And the moment that an image was sent, that was it. That was it. The extortion started and the pressure just kept going.
I'm just trying to put myself in Jordan's mind too, because he has a girlfriend. So then that's double the anxiety and embarrassment and shame, because now it's like, not only is this going to be sent to my parents and friends and teachers and stuff, it's now, oh my God, those fuckers. Oh, fuck. And it drives me crazy because you were not the only, it's not like this is a rare occurrence. A case happened in Canada like this years ago. It's just still happening. It's just.
It is. It's still happening. I get messages all the time from people. And I got one last week that this happened to another child in the United States.
And they took their lives too?
And they took their lives. And in this situation, the parents didn't know for a month what had happened.
Oh, I see. They knew their child passed away, but they didn't know the circumstances.
Correct. And now they're trying to navigate that process of what do we do next to try and find the people behind messaging their child.
So I do another episode a week. It's called Mental Health Headline Hot Takes. This is kind of how I found you. Actually, I was looking different articles and stuff. And Mark Zuckerberg was just recently in front of the whatever the hell it is, the Senate, or I don't know.
Yes.
And he was saying how social media is not bad for youth's mental health. Were you part of that? Were you there?
I was not able to be there, but I was watching and listening to parts of it that day. Yes, I heard.
I know some parents were there and they were like, "Hey, pal, this is what happened to my kids," and he did apologize, but it's very contradictory that,
He did apologize. He also said that with proper parenting, children don't need restrictions on his applications.
Oh my God, this fucking guy.
And those are the words from his mouth. I wrote it down. I had someone else send it to me. I mean, I'm not a perfect parent, but I did okay raising my son, and what happened to him had nothing to do with my parenting skills. Basically, putting that back on me. My son was 2 months from being 18 years old. I can't follow him to college and sit over his shoulder watching his activity online.
Well, it's not parenting in the now. It's how you raised him, probably. That's what Zuckerberg is saying. Like, what a guy. I can't believe he had the audacity to say that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's total gaslighting. That's exactly what narcissistic personality disorder is. But anyway, yeah, it's funny he didn't blame the person or the scammers or all the other stuff, but he blames the parents.
Why isn't his company tracking someone who is in another country, contacting the same account or IP address, contacting multiple people here in the United States?
I'm sure the technology is there to do that.
I'm sure it is.
God damn it.
Yeah.
And even as a middle-aged man, I get messages from random accounts all the time. Like, I fish them a little bit sometimes too. I play along and then I tell them exactly where to go and what to do with themselves. But I've never encouraged anyone to take their lives, but I've said, you're a dirtbag and you should be in prison. But has the police, has the government, or has there been new policies made? Like, are you finding you're getting support from, I don't know, the authorities around there?
Obviously our local law enforcement, our FBI here has been heavily involved in Jordan's case and bringing it to where it is. Huge support in all of that. Legislatively, with anything to change social media. There are some bills sitting in committee. One of them is called the Kids Online Safety Act, or KOSA. That has gained huge support within our Senate. Even I think the majority of senators are in support of it. So at this point, it's about bringing it to a vote. And that would put some parameters onto social media to hold them accountable.
Okay, I was going to say what's in that bill that would be helpful?
Well, basically, if there's a really old law on the books called Section 230, if you are familiar with that, and it basically gives social media complete immunity for anything that happens on their platform, literally anything. And this was done back in the 1990s.
Right. So it's like use at your own risk kind of thing.
Yep. So these bills are putting some of this responsibility back onto social media to provide safety features, notifications, also to provide reports to the Commerce Committee about the people using their platforms, the safety of it, how many times people are being reported for such things like this. It gives them some accountability. It's a start.
Because I guess that's tough when it's a private company and they say, here, you can use this for free, use at your own risk. We're not responsible for what people say or do on here, but that's also just very irresponsible. I mean, it's like, here, I'm a private company. I have loaded guns lying around my yard. It's like,
exactly.
Use at your own risk.
Right. That's like saying, hey, do you want to come to my house and you can commit whatever crime you want in my house? You don't have to pay for it. And you know what? You're not going to get in trouble as long as you do it in my house.
Or at least I'm not going to get in trouble.
I'm not going to get in trouble. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not going to get in trouble, but you can come here and use this. That's basically what it is.
Right. So it's more of an ethical thing than it is anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the sad thing is, because there is a lot of good that can come out of social media. A lot of kids, probably have saved their lives because they found a community that they wouldn't have otherwise where they're living. But
absolutely.
Okay, you get a pat on the back for that, Zuckerberg, but also maybe have a little bit of empathy for, the people that are losing children because of what's happening.
And it's just increasing the number of children being affected by things on social media. It's just increasing. Social media can be a great place to connect. You and I are connected today because of social media. I have a platform on TikTok. I feel like I have reached a lot of parents and youth sharing Jordan's story because of that platform. That's great. And we need to focus on keeping it safe for kids so that we can do those positive things on social media.
And my OnlyFans account is killing it. No, I'm sorry. No, I don't have people pay me to keep my clothes on. Never mind. I did read, I might have been that same article actually, that like some parents are like, kids under 18 shouldn't even be allowed to use social media. And I don't know, do you think that's maybe extreme?
I don't know. I don't know. I think that's up to a parent to gauge what is best for their situation. And I really think
that shouldn't be a bill or anything like.
Yeah. Having open conversations about things on social media and who you're talking to, and just like, what you shared about your child, just block them. And even if your child does engage in interacting with them or there's a photo, it's not the end of the world. Life will go on. Nobody will even remember that happened. And nothing is more important than your life. So I think it's super important to just have continuous open conversation amongst your family if you are using social media.
Bunny Hugs and Mental Health is supported by Co-op. I've been a member of my local co-op, Sherwood Co-op, for about 20 years. If you live in Western Canada, especially the prairies, or spent any time here, you've probably fueled up or bought groceries at a co-op. You might even have a co-op number, or 2, or 3. You know if you know. But co-op is not just a gas bar or grocery store. Although co-op is those things too, it's a different kind of business. Co-op members are owners and success is shared with everyone. Your co-op doesn't benefit one person or one corporation. Your co-op was built for everyone. Your co-op was built for your community. Learn more about co-op and find a location near you at co-op.crs. Did you have any conversations like this with Jordan?
I mean, of course. Jordan didn't have social media for quite some time. I mean, he was probably 15 or 16 before he even had anything like that.
Right.
But, there was a talk about you don't share things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I guess we did with our kids too. But it was years ago, right? It was like when they first were going on. It was like, there's creeps out there, be careful kind of thing. But,
yeah.
And then, I think my son learned a bit of a lesson here recently, but yeah. So I like what you said that you have to continue having these conversations with your kids. Especially, I can't, because it's so true. Kids are so spontaneous, like with decisions and emotions flare up so quickly and things are so devastating so instantly that they take these dramatic actions without, any kind of forethought or anything. And especially, I can only imagine in the middle of the night too. So you're probably a little sleep deprived and
yeah.
And then to know that there's people like preying on people like that for money.
Yeah.
So he did send them some money?
Yeah. Initially, they wanted $1,000 from him, but he didn't have $1,000. He had $300, and he sent that to them, but it wasn't.
Oh my God.
It wasn't enough, so they kept going.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. Like he must have felt so desperate and so scared.
I just imagine that they tortured my son for the last hours of his life.
And it was 6 hours, you said?
It was less than 6 hours from the time they started talking until the time he ultimately took his life. This
is maybe one of my worst interviews because I've never been so emotional. Like I've been emotional in other ones, but like angry. I've felt sad and empathy for, oh my God, it's all of it. Do you have other children?
I do. I have 2 daughters. They're younger. They're 3 and 5 years old.
Oh, I see.
So they were 1.5 and 3 when this happened.
Right. No other kids of age to be on social media?
No.
Sorry if this is too personal, but is this your husband's only child?
Jordan was the only child of his dad and
relationship.
I. Yes.
Right. Okay. I see.
And then his dad and I each have other children from another relationship.
Do you think this is going to affect how you raise your younger children?
100%. For a couple different reasons. As a parent, you never think that you will have to lay your own child to rest. Mm-hmm. And now that has happened to me, I realize that my children aren't untouchable. The world is an evil place. Jordan used to do things like ride his bike and go off places by himself at a very, very young age. My daughters, I don't know when they'll ever be able to do that. So I'm probably very overprotective of them at this point.
And then they could be in therapy in 30 years saying my mother was too overprotective.
Right.
I mean, I'd rather them be in therapy saying my mother was too overprotective to my mother let us run amok. And
yeah.
So, yeah, I guess you better safe than sorry, but also parenting is so hard, man.
All right. There's no manual for this. This situation, there's no manual.
It's true. It's like even when my parents were little compared to their parents, there was TV kind of was more introduced, but I mean, yeah, that was kind of it. Like
Yeah.
the generation from our generation to our children's, so much technology, so much more stuff to worry about as a kid in high school, and we don't know how to deal with it.
That we might not even know about.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what? This scam of financial sextortion, this is like the flavor of the day. At some point, there will be a new scam. So it's just about being vigilant, having relationships, open conversations, because at some point, right, the people that are doing this, they're going to say, oh, wait, they've caught on to what we're doing, so we're going to do something else.
And to use, well, I try to tell my kids, use critical thinking. If it feels, if that all one hair on the back of your neck stands up a little bit, don't continue on with whatever it is you're doing online. Like if you get if your spidey senses are tingling, just eliminate that conversation, eliminate that person.
There was just another case in Canada. Are you aware of that? This happened to, and they found the person in Nigeria as well.
No.
Yes.
And again, the kid took their lives.
The kid took their life. Yep. I believe they did. Yeah.
Even if they didn't, it's just so fucking evil. Like, how often are they successful that they think this is a good idea? And I mean, I just can't. So yeah, I've been trying to put myself in everyone's position. I can't put myself in these scammers' position in their mind. Like, what the hell's going through their goddamn mind?
Well, nobody has ever been caught, right? When
no one.
These things have happened, I mean, it's just financial. They're in another country. No matter where it is, we can't do anything about it. So it's really it's been a faceless crime. Now, in Jordan's case, this is the first time that someone has ever been arrested and extradited here to the United States for this crime.
So this is new territory for everybody.
Yes. Okay. I hope that sends a message to the people who are engaging in this activity that you're not just someone on the other side of the computer. You can be found and held accountable for the things that you're doing to kids.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I get scamming people for money. I get that part of it, but it's do you not realize that these young people are taking their lives because they are so distraught over it? I mean, it's one thing taking $200 from somebody because you sold them a vacuum that never shows up or something, you know what I mean? But to purposely find young people to prey on and know that how vulnerable and they are.
Yeah.
That's the part I can't wrap my head around. Like, they must realize lives are being taken.
I mean, the people in Jordan's case do. I can't speak for anybody else participating in that. In the indictment that was released in Jordan's case, these individuals had targeted like over 130 people in a year and a half to 2 years doing this too.
So I wonder how many other of those cases ended up this way.
I don't know.
So where's where are they legally now at this point? Are they been through the system?
So right now they are in custody. They are in the United States. They have been arraigned. They've had a bond hearing, and we're just waiting for the next step in the process. Where are we going forward from here? Okay.
So then they are actually charged by, like, it's a federal crime.
Yes. So they have been charged by the U.S. Attorney's Office. 2 of them have 3 charges. One of them has the same 3 charges and an additional charge, which includes causing the death of Jordan.
Is that the one that's still in Nigeria?
No, that one is here.
Okay.
There's 2 brothers here.
Oh, it's a family operation. Cool. Fuck. It's that time again for that Somebody Special segment where we chat about who cooperated in your mental health journey and helped fill your emotional tank. Brought to you by Co-op. So this is a segment where you get to give a shout out to someone that's been in your corner when you've needed it.
I there are so many people that I could thank that have been there for me over the last couple of years. But my best friend, Christina, she has been there through text, tears, phone calls. We grew up together as little kids, just a few houses down from one another. And, you know, she's my person. She's my go-to. And I love her to death.
Ah, good. Well, there you go, Christina. You've been mentioned on the internet. This has been another Some Bunny special brought to you by Co-op. How's Jordan's girlfriend been? Because I can't imagine being a young person either and losing someone that you're that close to.
You know, we live in a pretty small community. And when this happened, I mean, it really affected everybody. Jordan was pretty well known and liked. At his funeral service, there were over 1,000 people there. There were cars parked up and down the road a mile in each direction. It was standing room only in some parts. It was a big hit for our community, and they've been super wonderful and supportive. His girlfriend received, you know, a ton of support from her peers and family. She and I still keep in touch. You know, she has had the opportunity to speak about Jordan and her relationship with Jordan. I understand that she is a young person going through college, and, you know, at some point she will move on with her life. And I support her in that. She deserves that. But I'm always going to be here if she needs something from me or wants to reminisce or talk about Jordan.
Well, it's funny that you say there's like 1,000 people at this funeral. To me, that tells me you've done really well parenting.
Thank you.
You know, if someone's that well loved in the community. So I think Zuckerberg might be wrong. Fucking guy.
I mean, maybe.
I'm pretty sure he's wrong that it's not about the parenting. You're in Michigan, is that right?
Yes, I'm in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Oh, so you're Canadian, basically.
I mean, I'm like 2.5 hours from there. A lot of people assume when I say that we're part of Canada.
Right. Well, I was cheering for the Lions, by the way.
I'm not a Lions fan, but I was cheering for them. So a lot of us are Packer fans.
Oh, interesting.
So Saskatchewan is over to the west, right? I feel like I've been to Saskatchewan. I've been to Saskatoon.
Get out of here.
Yes.
What the hell were you doing
in Saskatoon?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're kind of central. So
okay.
North Dakota, North Dakota, Montana border, like straight up from there kind of thing.
Yep.
Huh. Well, so what took you to Saskatoon?
My best friend in high school, her dad lived in Saskatchewan, and he wanted her to visit. So we jumped in the car and drove there. Really? Which is something my daughters will never be able to do.
Right. Well, as we're talking, and I was just thinking this morning, again, it's so different being a parent. I'm assuming I wasn't in my parents' shoes, but so the other day we were trying to text my son and he wasn't responding, and it was to the point that my wife was like pacing, and I'm like, do you want me to, because where he lives is about an hour away. I'm like, do you want me to jump in the car and go physically there? And turns out he was having a nap. Right. And he didn't respond. But then I think about me at that age. I was like literally go for a 3-day drive to the Yukon, playing in a band and bars and stuff. And it was like I would talk to my parents for 2-3 weeks at a time, and it was just no concern. But it was also seemed like less stuff could affect us.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was like, I don't know if the bars or the roads or anything weren't safer then than they are now, but yet the world seemed less dangerous in a way.
Exactly.
And yeah, God, do you think, so you hear that like things like suicide is on the rise. Maybe it's even record breaking in some places. I know it's record breaking in some areas of Canada. And yet we are talking about it more and more openly than ever in history. Is it just it's happening more, so we talk about it, or are we talking about it more so then it happens more? Or
I don't know.
Or is it
I believe it's up like 20 some percent here among young people
in the
in the US.
state?
Yeah.
In the country. Okay.
And here's kind of my question in my mind about it is how many of them are related to a situation like Jordan's, but the parents don't know about it because they didn't know that that was a thing to even look for it.
And the thing is, I did know to look for it because I've had emails like that before, and I just laughed it off and hit delete. Like, I'm like, go ahead. You want to look at me naked? That's your problem, whatever. But like I said, as a kid, your mind goes all over the place. But I never had to worry about that as a kid.
Right.
And then there's things like COVID, and some kids are socially awkward because they were stuck inside their house doing online schooling for years at a time. And
right.
Inflation and poverty. Like, there's so much going on right now, and everything's at your fingertips. So you could literally just Google the body count in the Ukraine and it tells you right away. Like, there's
right.
Yeah.
And everything is behind the face of a computer, right? It's easy to say whatever you want from your phone to someone, whereas, at least in my day, someone had to call my parents' house and hope that one of my parents didn't answer the phone and then get to me, right?
Yeah.
It's not the same. And and I won't say that this is just kids, because it's adults too, is we look for that validation from social media. How many likes are we getting? How many comments? Like, that's such a huge thing. And that didn't exist in my youth.
Yeah. Well, that's my life right now, having a podcast. It's all behind a screen. I have nothing. I can't hold what I'm making. And so I'm on social media all the time trying to promote myself. And my livelihood is basically social media. And it's so weird. But yeah. And like you said, people hide behind screens. You can be as mean as you want to someone, thinking it's just funny or you're trolling them. And you're affecting an actual person.
Yeah.
Not always. Some people just laugh it off or whatever and delete it or whatever. But other people, it's you basically have a device in your hand that's constantly criticizing you.
Or making you feel good. I mean.
Yeah, right. It's very, it's
like a catch-22.
Yeah, there's no just consistently just living life anymore. It's constantly extremes of validation or criticism.
Yeah.
So what do we do? What do we do, Jen?
I don't know. Like I said, as parents, have conversations about open conversations, continuous, not just one time when your kid is 14 and then you think that they got it. You need to have it today, tomorrow, next week, on and on. I try to be conscious to put my phone down and be present when my children are around. Because they deserve my attention. I mean, I myself get caught up in it. It's easy to, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to use it for good. Sometimes I wish we could go back to the old days where we just played outside until the streetlights came on and that was it. And
like you said, things are changing so quickly from one scam to the next scam to like what's going to affect our kids on social media to the next thing that it's just our mental health systems are basically triage centers. There's no, how do you prevent something that you don't even, you can't even come up with that it's going to be happening in the next 6 months to a year, the next trend, the next whatever.
Right. And I don't know what your systems are like in Canada. I know going back to, even pre this happening to Jordan, getting in to talk to someone was impossible. It was 6, 9, 12 months wait time to even speak to someone. And in a lot of circumstances, when you are needing to speak to someone, it can't wait 6, 9, 12 months. It's right now.
Well, there's the 988 number. Is that new in the States, or has that been around for a while?
That came out in 2022, I think the end of 2022. Yes.
Okay.
Um,
It just came to Canada. Well, there's been parts of Canada have it, but it's just been widespread in the last 2 months, I think.
There's another one called Dial Help, I believe.
There's also, we have the kids' help phone too, which is kind of a similar thing. So, I mean, again, it's like kids, or parents who are listening, whatever, if you're in this situation, because I know just how impulsive kids can be with decisions, if you could just plant that seed, like, hey, if you have this choice that you're going to make, just quickly think of this 988 number. And like even if, like I said, even if someone does share your nudes with somebody, this too shall pass. It's not a forever feeling that you're going to have. It doesn't last forever.
Right.
And I mean, I've done some really stupid stuff in the past, and here I am.
Yeah. It's just a moment in your life that you won't even remember about. I don't remember a lot of stuff I did back in those years. It doesn't matter. This is my now.
Yeah. But I definitely remember that kind of thinking as a kid, though. Like,
for sure,
my life is over because the girls in my class saw me in my underwear running, whatever. It's like, oh my God. But this is even more extreme, right? And then like 6 hours of basically, like you said, torture and pressure and manipulation.
And I don't know the full conversation of what happened. I mean, there are tiny excerpts that have been released.
Why won't they release it all?
Because it's still
as a parent
ongoing. The investigation is still
that must
ongoing.
Be so frustrating.
And that
must be so frustrating.
All I have wanted from day one is I want to know what they said to my son. And someday I think at the end of all of this, I will get to see it. I mean,
what's worse, do you think? What they said and what they put your son through, or the not knowing of what they put him through? You know what I mean?
Not knowing.
Yeah.
Not knowing.
Yeah.
Jordan and I were super, super close. Super close. If I can read that, I will be able to feel and put myself into what was going through his head at that moment.
And you want, oh God.
Do I want to?
No. Yeah, I know. That's the thing.
As a parent,
it's gonna be,
I have to.
Yeah, I get that. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate it so much. And thank you for advocating for something that, like we talked about, something that I never would have imagined in my youth that this is something we even have to deal with in the future. So it's very much appreciated for someone that has kids like myself. So please keep up the good work. Also, thank you to Sticks and Doodles. They are an amazing company out of Regina. And, I'm always looking for sponsors for the podcast. And one of the owners, Kyle, he's a kind of a buddy of mine from way back. We haven't seen each other in a long time, but he actually got my foot in the door with mental health advocating. So it's so extremely appreciated. But they make like signs, like 3D signs and cool stuff. And they made a really cool 3D sign for the podcast. And it hangs behind me here. If you go on YouTube and watch the videos, it's starting this video, it'll be behind me. So thank you so much, Sticks and Doodles. You can check them out on Instagram. They make all types of cool 3D carved art stuff, and just go check it out. Also, if you're ever looking for a guest speaker for your school, an event, your corporation, your Christmas party, I don't know, I'm always looking to do stuff like that. I love doing it. You can reach out to me at bunnyhugspodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for the other people that I've been doing that. I've been talking to all types of people from all over the place, which is amazing. I got a couple events coming up, some virtual, some in person, so that's exciting. So yeah, just drop me an email if you're interested at all. And please stay tuned for all the episodes next week. all, I mean 2 Thursdays and Saturdays. But until then, please remember to make your beds and take your meds. Bye.